Hey guys, Thomas Genie here, aka Mustached. I'm here to review the movie Lost Transmissions. If you end up enjoying this review, then consider joining my Patreon page. Any donations are desperately needed. Alrighty then. This movie follows Simon Pegg as Theo in this based to true life story, at least according to the movie. That one Theo is dealing with schizophrenia. Now, I do apologize in advance as I don't have my notes for this one, so I might be a little bit all over the place. I actually didn't even write the notes. I was pretty enthralled by this movie actually, because Simon Pegg, no surprise here, carries the movie pretty well. But at first glance, it seems to be everything seems to be running pretty smoothly. Theo is a music person. He plays the piano, as we see him in the beginning. We also follow Hannah, the person on the top left of the poster there. She seems to be an average person, and she's there with this party of people that are there, and everyone's listening on him playing the piano, playing his music, and then, just singing about the people there. They're having a grand old time. After the fact of this little party, she's hanging around him, and I think they were riding home, or they were riding to a different location. He seems to experience some oddities in his behavior. It's not, in the beginning of the movie, it's not made that apparent that he even has schizophrenia, but later on it becomes very, very clear. She doesn't know what to do, so she makes contact with other people around them. And she is the one, while bringing him in, is also got to be the one responsible for looking after him, as other people around them are talking and saying how, like, they're either busy or they dealt with this before and they don't want to deal with it again, the heartache that it causes, so she's left responsible. All the while that is happening, I think in between the facts of that, Hannah was also singing her own music, and he seemed to be interested in that. So he has her pursue singing a song about something or other, about being lost in space, I believe is one of the earlier songs that she sings. And then going in the booth, doing some work there, and then making it into an official song of sorts. So everything again near the beginning seems to be running smoothly, and as she takes care of him more and more, the more and more he seems to lose it. We see him not take his his medication in order to help him deal with said situation, which causes him to, yell out at this band that is, the new acquisition that they are dealing with. And he starts off doing pretty solidly, but after a little bit, it starts to do all the knobs and starts to just mess around. So they are not doing so well on money or anything of that nature either. So they try to take him to a hospital pretty early on as well. And this particular hospital seems to have a weird system of, like, oh, you either have to bring yourself in, or, you have to be like a threat to somebody else directly. And that's the only way they will bring you in. And, I don't know if that's how hospitals work. but I'm guessing they must have had to at some point. I'm not sure when this movie takes place in terms of date, but I'm assuming it must have been a bit ago, and also not have taken place in this country. This movie primarily takes place in London, or somewhere else that's not quite London, but like in that area. Anyway, nonetheless, they have issues just getting to a hospital. And of course, he's going a little bit more crazy because he's not been taking his meds. And she's trying to do her life, trying to live her best life. She gets signed up with this other singer, the lady to the right of the poster, who has her own deal of like, write my music, I'll sing your music, etc., etc. But as the movie progresses, Hannah becomes more and more worried about Theo, and it eventually makes her leave the singer. The singer's like, hey, you're wasting my time, and stuff like that. But, Hannah is already off on her way. She tries to pick him up. He ends up, like, leaving the car. I believe this is the point of the movie where he does this. It ends up, like, just running off. Hannah eventually finds him at a party and eventually just joins in with him. She's like, whatever. So they have their moment there at the party. They do mushrooms. They get a little crazy. And eventually, after the party, he's like running off to like some other location, and she's trying a little bit harder to follow him this time. And they go to a place. They're like cutting through all these buildings, so they're going to this place that's like off limits, or supposed to be off limits, so they get stopped by the police. This is like the most threatening part to Hannah. You have these police officers. You even have as far as a helicopter shining the light on them, and the police officers holding their guns up because, you have Theo who's off his meds. He's going crazy, and you have Hannah trying to explain the situation of like, don't you, he's just look in my pocket. He's on medication or whatever. So he gets brought in to another hospital where they don't know quite sure how it's going. It seems like everything is running pretty smoothly. They think that Theo's going to once again check himself out of the hospital this time. But the doctor uses a different trick to get him to open up about his condition, so they get him to stay there that time. Of course, this upsets Theo to the point of not wanting to even talk to Hannah. And Hannah, after hearing his discussions about what he says during his little tidbits of, he mentions this time princess. And it turns out that this time princess that he's referring to is some woman he was in love with. So Hannah calls her up and says, look, I don't know what to do. Can you please help me with this situation? Can you please just play along and, get him to be to this location because everything's kind of falling apart. So they do so. They play along. It looks like it's running really smoothly. And they try to have him go back to the hospital because he kind of left it after the fact, or they couldn't keep him there for that long, or something along those lines. Nonetheless, they have Hannah, sort of going off on her own at the end of the movie, and you have Theo going back to this priest slash his father to deal with, just letting it all go. And that was Lost Transmissions. Really enjoyable movie. Again, Simon Pegg heavily carries it, does some phenomenal acting here. And it's interesting to look at a story where, you have this individual who's embedded in music, having this condition, having someone, who's trying to deal with it, trying to make sure everything's alright, having the hospital situation continuously not work out in differing scenarios, and then having the ending be, actually, it's a little open-ended, it seems. We have his bit, which seems to close off, but with Hannah, it seems to be like, what's gonna happen with her now? Her job was kind of just left out in the air of, like, did she work things out? I don't know. So, very interesting in terms of what we are following here. Again, really solid acting. Definitely would consider checking out. I would give the movie an 8 out of 10. Really enjoyable stuff. How about that? So, with that being said, if you ended up enjoying this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out those links in the description. One will head over to my Discord server, the other to my Patreon page. Any donations are desperately needed, and until next time, everyone, bye-bye!